Hi, this is Nick, and we are going to learn about how to use Microsoft Project. This will be the first video in a series of videos on how to utilize it. So let's get started. So, Microsoft Project, really cool scheduling program made by Microsoft, utilized by a lot of organizations for many different types of projects. These videos are going to be focused largely around construction, the construction industry, and how to use it in a construction environment. But note that this is all pretty general advice and you should be able to apply it to whatever industry or place you're working in. So, two ways to get to Microsoft Project. It is a Microsoft product, runs on Windows systems. If you're on a regular Windows PC machine, it's pretty easy to get to. However you acquire it, whether through your employer, you buy it off the shelf, you'll get a license key from Microsoft, install it on your machine, you're good to go. If you are utilizing a Mac computer like I am in this video, it's a little different to get to. You'll have to get to it through either a Citrix workspace or some other type of virtual machine environment, maybe like Parallels, or there's a number of different options out there. This is through the University of Minnesota for my students there, so we get to it through this Citrix workspace thing. So you'll get that set up with the IT department there. This computer's already configured for it. Once you log into your Citrix workspace, it'll pop up a little window like this. I'll have project listed right here. You'll click on that, get it loaded. Through the power of video making, I already had it loaded and ready to go. So, this is the screen you'll arrive at when you open Microsoft Project. It's really kind of just your welcome screen. As you start to work in this a lot more, you'll have different projects in here that you recently worked on. If you've pinned a project that you commonly work on, you can always get to it here. This is generally called the back page screen. That has all kind of your back-end stuff. There's a couple different templates up here. You can create a new blank project file here. Pretty simple, easy stuff to get going with. You have your new field right here, which is how you open a new project. If you have a project you want to load, you'll go here to open. And then once you open project, all these options will pop up here as well. So let's go to open just a new project. So we're going to start with a blank project. I recommend most people start with a blank project because a lot of the templates are nice, but then you'll want to kind of build this and configure it to be how you want to work on it. So, once you've got your new blank project open, you've got a new project blank canvas ready to go with. There's a couple of things you want to set up right away though once you open a new project. So the first is this project information. So up here at the top you have your file, task, resources. You want to go to project information. Here's, you want to establish what is the project start date. So it'll default to the current day. I'm recording this video on August 31st, so it automatically went to August 31st. But say our project happened on the 1st, you can pick that. You can really pick any date you want to. Current date, that'll be the day that you're actually working on the project. That is going to control what the actual time spent working on the project is. That could be if you're working somewhere else globally and you want to work on like a local time zone, you can adjust that there. Your status date, that'll be for setting baselines and information in the future. We'll come back to that in a future video. Project start date, you'll want to make sure you're going from project start date. What that is that it's going to tell you all your activities will be scheduled from the project start. So say you enter activities A, B, C, it's going to schedule all those from the start date. You have the option of project finish date here. So what that's going to do is that's going to make all projects start as late as possible, and it's going to force them all back to see when the project needs to start. It's a great way to do it in theory, but what happens is that when you're scheduling that, it'll push everything back forward, and you may not realize, hey, what's our sequence, or where are we off in this? So I recommend everybody work with project start, and then if you end up over duration, it's a lot easier to go in and start working areas and things like that to figure out what do we need to do to get back within duration that way. Let's get those set, hit OK. Now you've got your project parameters set, which is going to make it much easier to get going once you start to enter task. Now we've got a project going though, we want to talk about setting a few key options and saving. So you'll go back to your file item right up here. You'll notice now we've got a few different options up here. So you've got your project info, which has got just general information about project, your save and save as, which we're going to come back to. You haven't saved your project at all, so we'll need to save that thing as a save as. I'm going to show you guys something on how to set that up here. You can share that project with others, so you can share on SharePoint. Cannot work collaboratively with others on the same project file. Once again, there's a lot of different platforms out there, like Microsoft 365 has a lot of things where like multiple users could work on it. Google Sheets has the same thing. Cannot do that in Microsoft Project in this at least 2019 version. I haven't really explored any of the new ones too closely yet, maybe in the future, but you can always email it to people or sync it on SharePoint as like a task list thing. You can also export it as a PDF or save the file here. But all the way down at the bottom here, there's a options key here. So this is what you're looking for. This brings up a options menu that has a lot of information in it. There's a couple different categories on the left, pretty standard for Microsoft: general, display, schedule, proofing, save, language, advanced, customize the ribbon. As you develop your Microsoft Project IQ, you'll start to be like, hey, I wonder if I can change this. This is where you'll find most of those options. But being a new user, new to project, there's two things I recommend you change in here immediately. First, let's go to save. This is going to dictate where your project is saving. So your default file location, PC users, is pretty easy for you. It's probably just going to be somewhere on the C drive, maybe My Documents or whatever. Mac users, particularly those using a Citrix environment or Parallels, this is critical to making sure you're able to access your work later. The way a lot of these Citrix servers work is you log into them, you do whatever. A lot of times at like 11:59, they wipe everything on them and reset for the next day, which will include your work if you save it to this default location. So you need to go to Browse here, open this up, and find somewhere new to save this thing. From my computer, it's local disk H on Nick's MacBook Pro. So I'll click on here. And for instance, say I want to save it to my documents here. And this is the folder I want to save all my files to. So now it's on the client, which is my computer, saving to that location. I like to turn on autosave as well, because this will prompt you then to save it about every 10 minutes. This does not actively save as you go. So you have to save this either manually or turn on this autosave function to make it save for you every 10 minutes. It'll also have this little option right here to prompt before saving. I recommend leaving that on if you're doing a what if scenario and you don't necessarily want to save what you're working on, or you might want to go back. This will at least prompt it before it autosaves. It'll pop up that little box that says, do you want to save? Yes, no. If you want to change different interval too, you can change the timing on it. 10 minutes seems to be about right, but if you get flying through a lot of stuff and you want to save more frequently, that's fine too. The other thing you want to do is go down to advanced, and this second checkbox right here, prompt for project info for new projects, this will save it at the system level for your project configuration, that every time you open a new project, it's going to prompt for that project info box. It can be so easy to forget to set that, and then you'll go scheduling and you'll be like, why is everything starting at a different time than I expected to? Oh, I forgot to set the project info. This just makes it a little bit easier for you to work on that. So then you can explore the other options in here as well. General has some things on view, timeline, display. If you don't like how the autocorrect is working, you can adjust that in here. But yeah, so that gets you a new project file up and running and ready to go. Very simple to get going. In future videos, we'll start covering putting in tasks, how to set some of the project calendars. But that'll conclude this one. Thanks for watching and have a good day.